Hello again, everybody. I'm Paul the Nitro Skywars here. Welcome to this edition of Nitro Memories. Thank you so very much for joining us. This time around, we're going to look at November 1989. As we get into the winter months of 89, we have the Clash of the Champions in Troy, New York, and the Survivor Series, the third annual one that happened in the WWE. So we got plenty to talk about. So let's get right to it. Let's talk first about WCW, the NWA, excuse me. Um, First off, before the Clash of the Champions, the Steiner brothers defeated the Fabulous Freebirds to win the World's Tag Team titles on WCW Saturday night, or excuse me, on World Championship Wrestling, before it became WCW Saturday night. That was at the Center Stage in Atlanta, Georgia. So the Steiners finally accomplishing their goal, winning the World's Tag Team titles from the Freebirds. I saw that on television. That was a really good show. Now, the Clash of the Champions was held in Troy, New York in mid-February, I believe. And by the way, I'll be using the Wrestling Yearbook 2024 from Inside the Ropes. It's available now, by the way, on Amazon. Make sure you get your copy. This is a great reference tool. Trust me on that. So I'll be using that. Let's see here. The Clash of the Champions happened on November 15th of 89 in Troy, New York. I did watch it. It was very exciting, especially looking forward to the I Quit match between Nature Boy Ric Flair and Terry Funk. So let's look at the results. The Fabulous Freebirds defeated the Road Warriors by disqualification. Doom, Ron Simmons, and Butch Reed defeated Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert and Wildfire Tommy Rich. The Midnight Express defeated the Dynamic Dudes. Thanks to some Jim Cornette interference there. I remember that. More about that in a moment. Steve Dr. Dev Williams defeated the Super Destroyer. The Steiner brothers, who were before, they didn't say they were World Tag Team Champions, but at that time, they were the new World Tag Team Champions. In a non-title match, defeated the Skyscrapers by disqualification. The total package, Lex Luger successfully defended the United States Heavyweight title, beating Flying Brian Pillman. And then the I Quit match. Ric Flair defeated Terry Funk in an I Quit match, making Terry Funk say the words, I quit, in the figure four leg lock. Let's talk more about this, shall we? First off, love Jim Cornette nailing Johnny Ace with the racket after fooling the Dynamic Dudes into a false sense of security. That was a thing of beauty. The Dynamic Dudes suck. They suck. They actually split up about a month later. Thank God. That was a dumb angle. The Dynamic Dudes were no more. So surf out, dude. Oh, God. The Midnight Express were back to their original heel formation, and they would eventually, in the new year, the new decade, start out winning the United States Tag Team titles. More about that on a future episode. But I just love Jim Cornette nailing, I guess it was Shane Douglas or Johnny's, whoever, with the tennis racket. Boy, that was hard. That was stiff. Okay, we saw the Road Warriors lose by disqualification to the Fabulous Freebirds. That's when they had Gordy Hayes and Garvin as the Freebirds. The Road Warriors would eventually continue the feud with Doom and the Freebirds throughout 1990 before leaving, becoming the Legion of Doom in the World Wrestling Federation in July of 1990. More about that in a future episode. The Steiners defeated the Skyscrapers. It was probably one of their last appearances in their original form of Sid Vicious and Dan Spivey. Of course, Sid suffered a collapsed lung and was out for a couple months. Mean Mark Callis replaced it. We all know about Mean Mark. He became The Undertaker a year later in the World Wrestling Federation. Now, the trophy presentation, in case anyone remembered, Bill Apter gave the Wrestler of the Decade award for the 1980s to Ric Flair. It was a nice trophy. Luger, after Flair defeated Funk in the I Quit match, more about that later on, ended up destroying the trophy. That would lead to another feud between Luger and Flair. And, of course, that would lead to the Iron Man tournament. That'll be on the next episode. More about that in a moment. as far as the setup. Flair, Funk, I Quit match. I saw the whole thing. That was brutal. I mean, the chops were stiff. Funk's like, come get you some, son. Flair brought it. I mean, they were just fighting all over the place, and then the figure four was on. Terry Funk going, oh, jeez, my knee, my knee. And he was screaming, like, I quit, I quit. I was like, I can't believe Terry Funk quit right there in the middle of the ring. And then Funk shook Flair's hand, and Gary Hart betrayed Funk by kicking him in the knee. Flair nailed him. Here comes Muta with the mist, sprayed it in his eyes. Sting comes out there, helps save them, and then Luger jumps Sting from behind, and then Luger, of course, after that, destroyed the trophy. And I remember Luger with that big smile on his face and that broken trophy. I got you, Flair. So, again, that would lead to more Flair versus Luger world title matches. It led to Sting versus Muta in a couple more matches throughout the rest of '89. Now, this would all lead up, after the clashes, all leads up to Starrcade '89 at the Omni in the Iron Man and the Iron Team tournament. 4 wrestlers in the Iron Man, Flair, Sting, Muta, and Luger, and the 4 tag teams, the Samoan SWAT team, replacing the Skyscrapers, Doom, the Road Warriors, and the Steiner Brothers, all competing in a round-robin tournament. Whoever had the most points at the end of the round-robin tournament would win. Didn't work. Did not work. I was like, why? Couldn't you just have matches on there? But no, we got to find out who an Iron Man is. Who cares? That was the first big mistake that the NWA made in '89, as far as I'm concerned. Not buying it. Not buying the Iron Man match. I'm sorry, folks. So that was what was happening in the NWA in 1989. Moving on to the World Wrestling Federation, the Survivor Series happened in 1989. Let me give you the results of that one. It happened Thanksgiving night, live on pay-per-view for the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago. The Dream Team. Dusty Rhodes was the team captain, along with Brutus Beefcake, the Red Rooster, stupid gimmick, and Tito Santana defeated the Enforcers, the Big Boss Man, Bad News Brown, Rick Martel, and the Honky Tonk Man in the first bout. The King's Court, team captain, the Macho King, Randy Savage, along with the Canadian Earthquake, Dino Bravo, and Greg Valentine, defeated the 4x4s. Whatever. Jim Duggan, Bret Hart, Ronnie Garvin, and Hercules, all carrying 2x4s. We're 4x4s. Oh, dumb. Oh, God, that was the worst name. The Hulkamaniacs. Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Demolition defeated the $1 Million Team, Ted DiBiase, Zeus, and the Powers of Pain. The Rude Brood. Where did they come up with these names? The Rude Brood. Team captain Ravishing Rick Rude, along with Mr. Perfect and the Rougeau brothers, defeated Rowdy's. Huh? Rowdy's, whatever. Roddy Piper, Jimmy Snuka, and the Bushwhackers. And in the final one, the Ultimate Warriors. Yep, Ultimate Warrior Jim Neidhart and the Rockers defeated the Heenan family. Bobby Heenan, Andre the Giant Haku, and Arn Anderson. First note, Tully Blanchard was gone from the WWF after failing a drug test. Imagine that, someone failing a drug test, not going to be able to compete. So that essence ended Tully Blanchard's career in professional wrestling, except for a brief stint in ECW a couple years later. So Bobby Heenan had to don the tights, the team with Arn Anderson, Andre the Giant, and as part of the Heenan family and Haku against the Ultimate Warriors. Heenan got pinned last in that particular bout. Hulk Hogan finally ended the war with Zeus one-on-one as his team defeated the $1 Million Team, but there would be one more match in December, the No Holds Barred, the match, a steel cage match with Brutus Beefcake against Zeus and the Macho Man Randy Savage. Okay, let's promote the movie on pay-per-view by having the match after the movie. Okay, whatever. But Hogan finally defeated Zeus, and now he's going to begin a war with Mr. Perfect over the World Wrestling Federation heavyweight title. Let's see if Hulk Hogan can end the undefeated streak of Mr. Perfect. Excuse there. The 4x4s losing to Earthquake's team. Who cares about that? Of course, Bad News Brown was never a team player. That's how they ended up losing that one. Overall, it was an okay Survivor Series. The only things that came out of it were Tully Blanchard being fired by the WWE for failing a drug test, and Bobby Eaton had to don the tights, and of course Hogan finally beating Zeus as the Hulkamaniacs defeated the $1 Million Team. Now headed into the final month of December, I mentioned No Holds Barred, the movie, the match. Excuse me there, just recently battled the cold. Let's see here. Also, the Ultimate Warrior was now in the midst of his second reign, continuing defeating Andre the Giant, embarrassing him in Madison Square Garden, and beating him in 30 seconds in Iowa. I mean, really? Is that where we're going with Andre's career? Rude and Piper were now going to take their war inside of a steel cage for the championship. Demolition was still champs. And now getting ready to face Andre the Giant and Haku for the tag team titles on TV the very next month. So that was, in essence, the World Wrestling Federation at that time. And with that, that's going to end this edition of Nitro Memories. Next time, we're going to get part one of our two-part look back at December 1989. In part one, which will be out next month, we'll talk about what happened in December 1989 in the World Wrestling Federation with No Holds Barred, the movie, the match in the WWE, meanwhile Starrcade 89 happened, Iron Man, Iron Team. Then in 2 months' time, it's part two of our look back at December of 89. We'll look back at the Achievement Awards and see who won in each individual category, including who won for Wrestler of the Year. That's going to do it for now. For everyone here, I'm Paul the Nitro Scars here saying, so long, everybody.